but it's when you saw an opportunity or risk and you responded to it. Anything come to mind when we ask for a finance strategic moment?
Yeah, I kind of got a couple that come to mind, and one of them is in the way you would put it, the Wayback Machine about 10 years ago. So it was when I first came to Coleman, and so that was my first kind of real exposure to corporate finance in an organization. And my initial thoughts were, okay, you're going to set the budget every month, you're going to pull the numbers together, almost kind of like envisioning it as an accounting type role. And the story I'll describe here was the first moment where I realized that finance has a seat at the table, and finance can be a catalyst for growth and a catalyst for strategic decision making in the company. So the example I'll give is that, like any good story does, it starts with a problem. So our CEO says, we're having declining gross margins across the business. We don't know why, but we need to fix it. And so you're in a room with executives and everybody starts storytelling. Well, our COO is like, well, it's because of the rising prices in China. Or someone else is like, no, it's because of our manufacturing problems in the United States. And so we start to have a debate that's not rooted in fact, that's rooted in emotion. So what my job was is actually come up with what the answer is. Why are we losing margin, and what can we do to change it? And so what started with a high-level analysis of what products are we selling, at what margins, to what customers, ended up being this extremely detailed price-volume mix analysis. Because what we found is that if you look at your business from a high level, just at the product and customer level, you lose what's actually happening in the real world. And so what we would find as we drill down even more is that, if we're selling more of a certain product category that has a lower than average margin, that's going to drag your margin down. But what we also found is when you get even deeper into the data, it could be a single SKU at a single customer that's dragging the category down. We also found that new products that were being introduced to customers were pulling out higher margin products and putting in a slightly lower margin but still high margin product that was new on the shelf. So we were unintentionally declining our margins through new product offerings. And so when we brought this information to the executive team, it was like, oh my gosh, this is extremely complicated. And it changed the way that we priced our products, and it changed the way that we talked about kind of our annual review with customers. And so when you work in a CPG company, you basically have one shot at the beginning of the year to do your line review with a customer. So at Coleman, for example, we would go to Cabela's and say, here's the assortment that we're going to pitch for you this year. It gets set at the beginning of the year, and then you just kind of watch the orders happen. So the process that we changed was we got finance involved in running the process from the very beginning. So finance would run the line reviews. We would build all of the products into one catalog. We would show what was the margin last year, what's the margin this year. We would look at any replacement products. We would highlight low margin products and say, hey, let's replace this with something higher margin. We would sunset SKUs. And this was all work that wasn't happening before. Before, the seller would just go in, pull the catalog, and say, let's sell this product. So what we did was we took back control of the business to be able to make decisions as an organization around how do we want to price our products. And it really changed the trajectory of our gross margin profile and the way that we interacted as an organization. And I sat back from that and I was like, wow, that was really cool. That was a great way for finance to be embedded in an organization and really make a change. But more so, how do you educate and enable your employees to make the micro decisions every day that are going to add up to the business results that you want? And so we started doing at Vendavo, I've done them at Four Winds Interactive as well. We do these director and above meetings where we kind of bring the leadership across the organization, it's about 50 or 60 people, and we talk very detailed about the financial goals of the organization, how they can impact them, why they're important, and we're creating financial literacy throughout the chain of the organization so that those micro decisions that you can't be a part of are informed by the financial drivers that are going to create value for the organization. So I've got a passion for doing those. I love to teach. but we've found it to be a very effective way to kind of embed finance in the decision-making process when we're not even there.
Huh. And is that several times a year? Is it once or twice a year that?
We're typically trying to do it once a quarter, and it's the first one we did earlier this year was around how the organization thinks about M&A, and a little more detail on how M&A can create value for an organization. The next one's going to be around Rule of 40, which is a common SaaS company metric, it's a combination of your revenue growth and your EBITDA as a percentage of revenue, basically saying if those two numbers combined are 40 or above, you've got a well-run and efficient organization. You can either grow at 40 to 50% a year, or you can grow at 0 and deliver 40 to 50% EBITDA margins, or some in between. But it's educating individuals on the team around those types of ideas and thoughts that create a different way that they may go about their day-to-day. And it makes them feel more of the process of the organization as well.
This episode is presented by Avolair.